welcome again. We will start this masterclass now. Good, welcome to this masterclass, and I'm glad that so many people can join us. This is the third and last in a series of three masterclasses dealing with the ICA, recent ICA white papers. So the first two, the one dealing with methodology, the one dealing with AI, have been recorded already and will be made available or have been made available. You can go to the ICA website page and you will see the links there. We will make the second one available within the next day or so. And then this one will also become available very soon. These masterclasses are some of many programs and events run by the ICA in support of initiatives aimed at preventing crime and creating safer places. Okay, my name is Tinus Kruger. I'm the Executive Director of the ICA, and I would just like to mention a few issues. Please make sure that your microphone is not switched on. You are welcome, and we encourage you to introduce yourselves in the chat. Once we've started with the presentation, we will ask you to use the Q&A function to pose questions and not the chat function. We will probably switch off the chat function so that we can focus on the presentation. You can ask your questions in the Q&A function that you will find on your screen. Okay, we would like to invite you to take advantage of the many opportunities we offer by joining the ICA. You can use the link provided on the screen to contact us or if you have any questions. So if you're not a member, please join us. For more information about our individual certification for Cpted professionals program, certification, for Cpted professionals, please go to the ICA website and you can see there we go. There's the link on the screen. We also offer a course accreditation program for course developers, and the link is also available on the screen. You can contact us via social media should you need more information. We would like to make you aware of the disclaimer on your screen, specifically the following. The views expressed in this presentation belong to our guest speaker and do not necessarily reflect the position of the ICA. And furthermore, the ICA does not assume legal responsibility for the speaker's statements, the intellectual property, or the information presented today. Okay, let's begin with this masterclass. It's again my pleasure to welcome all of you, our attendees, and our distinguished guest presenter, Manuel Lopez from the Netherlands. And then I will hand you over to our moderator, Dr. Manjari Kapoor, the ICA Vice President, to start the discussion. Thank you, Manjari. Over to you.
Thank you, Tunis, and a very, very warm welcome from India. Namaste to everybody across the world, whichever time zone you are in. It's my great honor and privilege today to welcome our last masterclass speaker, or rather, should we say, the maestro taking the class is Manuel. And just a few housekeeping tips first. Like Tina said, the chat function will be disabled, so we encourage all of you to share the questions on the Q&A section only. Please do not write any questions in the chat because it's practically not possible for us to keep track of both the places. And um, we would try and answer as many as possible as we go further. And I invite you all to have a great session and enjoy it. Just a small, short introduction to Manuel. For those who are not aware, he is, of course, an ICCP certified professional from the ICA, but he's also the vice president of the SVOB. I'll leave it to him to tell you the full form of that, which is the Dutch chapter of with the ICA. He's also a co-founder of the ECA, which I take it is the European Cpted Association, and he is a director of the Dutch Cpted Research Group. So he is a major upcoming star in our Cpted circle. And please, in your own virtual way, put your hands together and welcome Manuel. I won't take away from his time at all. And please take it away, Manuel.
Okay, thank you very much for this nice introduction, Manjari. And also thank you, Tines, and thank you, ICA boards, for giving the opportunity to present and talk a little bit about this white paper. I will share my screen and I will show you the PowerPoint that I've prepared, and then we can talk about the white paper. I must rearrange a few things to go into the presentation modes. Yes, we have done so. So thank you indeed for this presentation. Yes, my name is Manuel Lopez, Vice President of the Dutch ICA chapter SVOB. Also working as director, as spearhead of a small research group, the Dutch Cpted research group. We do a lot of research, but also evidence-based praxis on Cpted. And yes, I want to make a small commercial, especially for the European participants in this session. We are now in the process of founding a regional Cpted association, the European Cpted Association. It is, of course, part of the ICA. It is under the umbrella of the ICA. And if you are from Europe, but even if you're not from Europe and just interested, you can email me, manuel.lopez@inholland.nl. It is on the screen. And we will send you the bi-monthly newsletter. You can participate in our joint grant applications. Very interesting if you are interested in joining European funded projects. And if you are interested, you can also join one of our committees. We have one on communications and one on grant development. Okay, that was the end of my commercial, especially for the European members. I will rearrange my screen once again a little bit. Tap on the next slide, and then we will start to talk about the white paper on Cpted theory and practice. It is a white paper which I wrote together with my colleague and my very good friend, Paul van Zomeren, who is also in the ICA board. And you can download it. It is on the screen. You all know the address of the ICA site, Cpted.net/white papers. There you can find this white paper, but also the two white papers that were presented in the previous sessions, both in English and yes, even in Spanish. Before I will talk about the content of this white paper, maybe we can pose the question, why did we write this white paper? Why a separate white paper on theory and the practice, and why did it look and feel the way it does? Well, first of all, in 2024, I published a book together with my colleague and friend Paul van Zomeren, and that is the new handbook. It is in Dutch, the new Dutch handbook on Cpted. Nieuw handboek, veilig ontwerp en beheer. We had one in 2008, and this is the new one, because between 2008 and 2024, a lot has happened. Cpted is evolving. And what did we want to accomplish with that? Well, we all know that people do not like to read anymore. I don't know, it are students, it are policymakers, and they all have a kind of brain rot. Some people tell me people don't like to read, but we want to make Cpted available in an understandable way, accessible to a large or even a larger audience, because Cpted is getting popular. Everybody that, before, nobody seemed to know Cpted, but especially in the Netherlands, in Europe, I meet more and more policymakers and other people who know about Cpted, but they do not know everything. And of course, we like to inform them, make it accessible in an understandable way, but without making it simplistic. And of course, we like to make people, students, policymakers, passionate about Cpted, so they learn about it and they will implement it. And the question was, okay, can you do the same thing for the ICA? Can you make something like the new handbook, make it even shorter, maybe 20 pages, something like that, more concise, and write a white paper about the theory and the praxis of Cpted? Yes, so it must be accessible, it must be understandable for a large audience. So this challenge was to make it concise, to make it short, but also to talk about what exactly is Cpted, what are the founders, the theories, 3 generations, evidence, the practice of Cpted, current innovations, and of course, how will Cpted look in the coming years? What is the future? And that's all in a very concise and a very accessible, in plain language, not academic, in a very short white paper that is interesting for people that do not know about Cpted, or not much, but also for the professional. Okay, a large task, I would think, and I hope that we succeeded somehow. And we made this white paper, and in this masterclass, I will not summarize it. I'll just talk about some key points in this paper. It has got 5 chapters talking about what exactly is Cpted. Do we still understand it as it is? The foundations, the founders, the theories, three generations, the praxis, the evidence-based examples, and looking into the future. Well, before we dive into all those chapters and talk a little bit about the key points, I want to ask you guys a question. I want to ask you, very basic, what do you think that Cpted is? What is Cpted? What is the definition? You can think about it 5 seconds, not too long. I will take a sip and then we will discuss it. And you might wonder, this Manuel guy, he's asking the obvious. We all know what Cpted is. Let's look at the website of the ICA. On the first page, on the home page, there is a clear definition of Cpted. And here it is. What is Cpted? Crime prevention through environmental design is a multidisciplinary approach to crime prevention that uses urban and architectural design and the management of built and natural environments. Cpted strategies aim to reduce victimization, deter offender decisions that precede criminal acts, and build a sense of community among inhabitants so they can gain territorial control of areas, reduce crime, and minimize fear of crime. That is what is written on the ICA site. When I summarize this is telling Cpted is a crime prevention methodology. And at the right side, fortunately, there's also written, Cpted is evolving and it is changing. So my question is, and we are addressing that in the white paper, is this still the definition of Cpted? Because what is actually Cpted? Well, we all know that Cpted starts from a very simple premise. At the build, the social, the organizational environments that shapes behavior in a good way and in a risky way. But I think, and I know that most of you agree, that Cpted is broader. It is not only directed at blocking crime opportunities, but it goes further than that. It also is aimed at designing places that invite engagement and foster trust, make stewardship visible. What we want is to create places that are livable, that are vibrant, that are resilient, communities that thrive, places where people are happy, that shapes behavior for the good, in a good way, that encourage engagement, positive engagement. And safety then becomes a byproduct. When you create places like that, then crime prevention, in my opinion, is no longer a key aim. It's no longer the first and most important thing, because safety is part of livability. Livability is a broader term, and safety is part of that. So let's build for livable, resilient, vibrant, sustainable environments. And in my opinion, and that is what we also write in this white paper, that is what Cpted is all about. Okay, so Cpted reframes safety as a property of good places. And when we look at the philosophy of Cpted, I was telling it has got evolved. It has got evolved from a crime prevention method to a philosophy, an urban development philosophy, where safety is a byproduct of those better places. Let's look at the theories. I will not discuss every theory. There are a lot of books about that. But when you look at the crime prevention through environmental design theories, I think you can categorize them and we can argue about it. But roughly, there are 3 different types of theories, and they matter. They matter a lot when you want to implement Cpted. Because we all know that crime, let's talk about crime again, crime is patterned, and crime is opportunistic, and crime is social. So we've got the opportunity theory and the rational choice theory, and it's all about opportunity and choice. We have the routine activity theory, crime pattern theory, and a natural movement theory. And it's a little bit about something else. It's about how people move through public space. It's about routine, patterns, movement. Why are people moving through a city as they are? And there are other theories, broken windows, collective efficiency, and they are about order, they're about control, and they are about capacity. And when I'm talking to students, because we've written this white paper and this handbook for the people who are also trying to learn about Cpted, and when I so people like stakeholders, people from the government, local, national government, but also our future generation, students who will want to know what Cpted is, then I always tell them, theory might seem boring, because most students don't like theory, but it's very important. It helps you decide where to look, what to change, and why an intervention should work. And you can use it as a practical tool to reach places, 1 as opportunity, 2 as routines, 3 as meaning, and 4 as social capacities. It makes you understand. It gives you a diagnostic tool. I don't know. Yeah, I was skipping a slide, which is here. So you can turn Cpted theory into a tool for choosing your interventions. Okay? First, you define the place, you define the problem, the boundaries, the users, time patterns, etc. Then you diagnose the mechanisms that are in place. What drives risk? What drives fear? And there you can read the place in terms of the theories. You select the generations, and I will talk about the acronyms SAFE, ACT, and STEP in a moment. And my message is always use those 3 in combination, and then you work with stakeholders in finding the right mix of measures. And then you end. No, one of the key message of our white paper is that it is important to check and to learn, and I will talk a little bit more, now much more about it just in a moment. Let's first look at maybe one of the most notable things in the white paper. Our idea was to make people understand about the 3 generations. It is important to make it accessible. And you can do that maybe in this way by using 3 acronyms. And we have chosen the acronyms SAFE for the first generation, ACT for the second generation, and STEP for the third generation. You can read about it in the white paper. But I think when you take the first letter of that word, that acronym, SAFE for example, then it covers the first generation. You can look to aspects: surveillance, accessibility, functionality, environment, and engagement. And the second you can do with ACTs, or the second and third generation. And every letter, like the S from surveillance, you can also dive a little bit deeper. What is under it? And yeah, we do that very brief, very accessible, I hope, in the white paper. And what we also write is, do not choose 1 generation, but layer them. Look at the physical environment, but also look at the community, look at sustainability, social, economic, environmental, public health, because they are all interconnected. And you cannot only, we only practice first generation Cpted, it is too limited. Okay, then chapter 4, and I will check my time because I think I'm still doing well. In chapter 4, we present very briefly 7 best practices, 7 cases from around the world, from England, from Holland, from the USA, from Colombia, and from Spain, and that are all case studies, examples of the application of Cpted that are very well evaluated, very well, in most cases, through random control, trial, evaluation, and it is proving that these approaches work. So 7 evidence-based cases. And what do we see across those examples? That they always follow the same procedure. And now I come to I think the most important message that Cpted, yes, it is an evidence-based approach, but what we need is even more evidence, evidence from the field. But evidence is never easy to accomplish. It's never simplistic. The international cases show that Cpted can work. I do not say Cpted works. No, Cpted works when you apply it in the right manner. And what is the right manner? That is not an easy thing to answer. It is also not an easy thing to evaluate, because what works can differ from the place, the time, especially from the procedure. So it is essential that every Cpted project should be evaluated. And I was looking for evidence-based practices. Our research group is making a database and collecting those Cpted best practices, and we see that Cpted is implemented in many places, but it is not always evaluated. And there are very good reasons why it is not, because there are a lot of practical challenges. But the most, excuse me for my voice, the most simple thing that we should do is, when we start a subject project, we must always do three things. First, make it very clear what is the problem, what is the intended change, and for who, and the target group, the mechanisms. Then two, what will you actually do, and what do you envision as the effect? And do not only look at crime, do not only look at crime problems, also consider perceived safety, the use of space, maintenance, how the community in a large will benefit. Be clear about your evaluation design. That is also very important. It is not always not always possible to have the highest evaluation standards, but try to make it as good as possible. And then last and not least, learn and adapt. Because in many cases, when we implement Cpted measures, well, first, we don't know if they work. And two, if they work or they don't work, we are not always learning and adapting from it. And that stands to reason, because when you talk with a stakeholder, they pay money, in most cases, for visible measures. And when you work at the municipal office, you say, okay, we've got a crime spot, and the mayor wants me to take charge and change it. What does that person always want? They want visible measures that are attractive, and that costs a lot of money. And evaluation takes time, and even it is a risk. It is a political risk that people are taking, because when you evaluate and it turns out that the effect that was envisioned is weak or non-existent, then that person has paid a lot of money and created a problem for his own and for the municipality. But even when you see that interventions do not work, you can learn from it, and you can think about it. What must we do to adapt? Can we change? And what went so wrong? Was it the design, or was it the process? Because the process is also very important. So evidence matters, the context matters, and Cpted should generate more evaluated insights. And of course, that is always the plan, do, check, act cycle, which is known to everybody, but not always implemented in that way. What also complicates this is when we look at measures in the domain of generation 2 and 3, the operationalization is not yet clear. We have just developed these generations. We can easily measure generation 1 with a checklist, but how to measure social cohesion, resilience, public health, we still need good and general accepted tools for that. Now let's look at the future agenda, and I think that I'm exactly at the same timetable as the last session last week. So what do we think must be the future agenda for Cpted? Well, first of all, we still have to do a lot of work. We have to make second and third generation concepts measurable. The second one is we need a lot of evidence. Cpted has got a lot of evidence-based practice, but the more we have, the better it is, and we can also learn from our failures. It is also good to look at other analytical tools, look at disciplines that look at the street pattern, like space syntax, look at the methodology or the theories of crime and place, Weisberg, behavioral science, environmental psychology. That's also providing tools that we can use in Cpted and which we are already using. And of course, like Greg explained in the previous session, we can use technology, but be very careful. We can explore the possibilities, but also the threats of AI, sensors, biometrics. That is all becoming a reality now, but we also have to think about that more carefully. And maybe last but not least, when we focus to the top right of my last slide, let's consider what Cpted really is. What is Cpted? Is Cpted still crime prevention through environmental design? Or is it maybe the moment to rephrase that and to use the letters Cpted, Cpted, for example, for creating places that enrich daily life? Some stupid idea maybe. Or collaborative placemaking through environmental design. Okay, just some food for thought, and I'm very interested in your questions and comments. So thank you very much for your attention so far. Back to you, I think, Manjari.
Yes, thank you very much, Manjari. You can take over again. Are you there, Manjari? Otherwise, we would like to open up for questions, and I think let's start. Manuel, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. It was concise and to the point, yet very informative. And there's two questions that we've already got in our chat. Manjari, are you gonna take that?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'm very much here. So thanks for that, Manuel. I see only a few. Yeah, I see some questions and some things coming in, but I don't see too many. So there are some questions here. Of course, Matea is adding to your point at places. And there is I don't know whether it's a question or a remark from Karen Feinberg. It says, regarding understanding those that have offended, I have worked with prison populations as part of my own practice and wonder if you bring in offenders to Cpted to understand their behavior, context, etc. Would you like to respond to that?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Well, I would say first of all, Cpted is a shift of the paradigm that was followed in criminology, focusing on the offender, and we are more focusing on the opportunity. We are focusing on the built environment. Are offenders important to understand that relationship? Yes, and there is a lot of research that has included offenders. I'm thinking of big interviews. I've forgotten who they were, but some British people have interviewed burglars. We've also done it in the Netherlands to understand from, when you go to do your job, to go burgling, what is your modus operandi and why do you make your choices? There's done a lot of work on that in the past. Is that important? I think yes, but especially it was important, and I think right now we are ahead of that. We have passed that, and we are now ready for a new time where Cpted is defined in a more broader sense.
Thank you, Manuel. I hope your question is answered, Karen. And I'll go to the next question. It's from Matea. It says, thanks, Manuel. I love your point that safety is a byproduct of livable, vibrant, and resilient communities. Can you offer some insights from the case studies included in the guidebook to offer ways of making neighborhoods and cities livable, vibrant, and resilient?
Yes. It are 7 case studies, 7 very different approaches, and I think very good examples of how Cpted can be implemented, but also evaluated in a very rigorous way. And one of the case studies that I recently used is a second one in the white paper, and it is describing how maybe one of the most criminal places in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, which is called the Zuiderwijk of so. What it was a street. In the 1980s, it was full of people using drugs, prostitution, things like that, and they turned that over, but not just by using first generation measures, not by using target hardening, which was also quite popular in the 1980s. No, what they used, among many other things, was an approach where the shopkeepers took responsibility. There were some shady shops. Those places were bought by the local government, and they had turned that place for the better. One cornerstone to the other, and then that whole street was regenerated. And I was using that example last month in a consultancy job which I did in The Hague, where there is a small square, and they asked me to evaluate if the first generation measures that they envisioned, if that was enough. And I was telling, no, you can change this place, which already looks beautiful. It is used a lot, but especially by different ethnical groups who didn't intermix, who were causing problems. It is always good to look further to that first generation measures, and for example, use that approach which was used on the Zeedijk in Amsterdam.
Thanks, Manuel. I'm sure Matea's question has been answered there. The next question is from Percival from Brazil. He writes, congratulations on an excellent and clear presentation. Thank you for clarifying the concepts. Many of us work with Cpted and use different terms to convey the same meaning. I believe that countries differ and the application of Cpted as a civic initiative is subject to or constrained by criminal and urban planning laws. These vary from country to country, depending upon the extent to which the state seeks to control the population. We have a major task ahead in convincing administrators, lawmakers, and urban planners. Do you have anything to add to that or respond to that?
No, that is true. Yes, one of the things that I pointed out is context matters. Yes, the context is different from place to place, from country to country. But what is general are the Cpted principles. They work in every place, in every country, and every culture. And the other thing, convincing stakeholders, convincing local, national governments, yes, that is always a challenge.
Yeah.
We have that challenge in the Netherlands, but I'm sure that other places are even more challenging.
Yes. So I think that also depends upon the kind of governance system or the administrative system that you follow, because in ours it's more a center controlled thing, and then you don't have direct control over the municipals, so the municipals can't go out except what is a top down approach. So that becomes a bit, it's a big wall for all of us to break, at least in my part of the world. So I completely understand where Percival is coming from.
Yes.
Okay, so the next question is from Maka. She says, great presentation. What do you think is the relevance of translating the white paper into English and Spanish? Do you think its contents are applicable in different regional contexts? How do we deal with cultural context, in your opinion? One of which we just discussed is also a kind of a cultural context, but yeah, you can add to that.
Yes, absolutely right. And it is, we have now the white paper available in English and in Spanish. And in Spanish, thanks to Macarena. And I think that is very important because not everybody speaks English. For me, and you can hear that it is a second language. It is not always easy, and for people in the Spanish countries, it is a big add-on to have not only my white paper but also the other two and other Cpted publications available in a language that is very accessible. My objective with the white paper was to make it accessible for a large community, and the Spanish community is huge. So thank you for your support in the translation to Spanish, Macarena. Thank you.
Thank you, Manuel. I'm sure you've answered Maka's question there. Okay, so another question from Ray Lee. He says, Manuel, thank you for your approach to be concise in your presentation of Cpted principles. From an architectural standpoint, I find it very difficult to promote a layer approach using the 3 Cpted generations. Do you have any insight on how you achieved this?
Yes. You are right. That is a challenge, and especially like I pointed out, because Cpted generation 2 and 3 are relatively new, and it is not still as clear as the principles of generation one. So how do we exactly define and measure something like public health or social cohesion? Well, I have some ideas. We have some data sources in the Netherlands that I can use, but like we have just learned, the situation in other countries can be different. They have other data sources. In some cases, there is no data. You have to do some research yourself. This is still a challenge, which I also pointed out in our future agenda, a challenge that needs to be tackled.
Thank you, Manuel. Okay, so there is a longish question from Dr. Terence Love from Australia. He writes, how do you see Cpted should change to reflect changes in crime? For example, he's giving some examples here. He says property crime has been dropping worldwide by 3% for 3 decades and is now almost irrelevant. I assume this is violence against women and whatever gender, FDV and GBV are rising rapidly and now perhaps the major proportion of crime. 30% of crime is cybercrime, and there are new areas of crime emerging, such as red collar crime. Perhaps this requires completely rethinking what is the Cpted environment to include many more areas of human life, including government policies, processes, economic controls, banking, and transaction processes. Would you like to react to that?
Yes. Very relevant question. Thank you, Terence, for that. Violence against women is indeed a topic. I'm not sure if it is rising, but the awareness has been risen, and that is that's a very good thing. In the Netherlands, I was telling that I have a small research group, and we focus on Cpted, do research about that. And one of the topics, and I think my colleague Guur is here also present. Guur is taking exactly that topic, and also in the SVOB, the Dutch ICA chapter, we have a small committee, and that is focusing on crimes against women, because that is a very important issue. When talking about cybercrime, that is another thing, because it is true, crime is shifting from the physical world to the digital world. So cybercrime is a major challenge. And I was talking about ECHA, the European Cpted Association. Well, one of the grant applications that we are now following through, a cost application, that is one of the things, one of the work groups is just focusing at this challenge. I do not yet have an answer. What can Cpted contribute in the digital domain? But we will look in that project to do that. And yeah, I applaud all other people that are also looking into that domain. It's indeed very important.
So, incidentally, Manuel, just to add to what you said, Terence Love, he was also a panelist on one of the webinars we had about Cpted and cybercrime. So that is where he is a big patron on the subject. So he's been writing, he's been following up, he's been researching on that subject quite profusely. Okay, so another question from our speaker in the last two masterclasses, Greg Seville. He says, thanks, Manuel, great presentation. I am building on Percival's comment about different terms and also Manuel's question about promoting Cpted beyond architecture. In some parts of the US, there are instructors who claim all the Cpted principles always include social and livability. This is not true historically, and many mistakes are made when physical Cpted is implemented without deliberate social and emotional strategies. But they still believe it. Therefore, they say it is too difficult to teach these new methods and they want to eliminate generational layered approach to simplify it. I don't agree because we have taught second generation in our courses for years, but this seems to be a training problem. What do you think, Manuel?
Yes. Yes, thank you, Greg, for this question. Yes, yeah. If we were not in this masterclass, I would cite my grandfather, and he was telling me, you cannot teach a donkey to become a horse. And with many stakeholders, when they are in a certain belief system, it is very difficult, maybe impossible to convince them that second generation and thirds, yeah, that is actually important. So yes, awareness, that is very important. And I think that one of the tools are these white papers, but also the general work of the ICAs is contributing to that awareness. And I think we can go in small steps. There are many young people learning about Cpted. In the Netherlands, there are 4 universities using our Cpted handbook, the bigger version of the white paper. We are educating them. They can still be molded, but like I said, if people are stubborn, you can come with good arguments, and even then they will reject them.
They may or they may not. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Manuel. Thanks for that. Now, related to that is another question from Matea. She says, what do you respond to critics who suggest Cpted needs no generations?
Yes, I have read that on LinkedIn. That one person stated that. I have written a reaction to that. That I do certainly not agree. Yes, it is true that the principles of Cpted are always the same, and they are or the basics. Francis, even still. I was reprimanding my daughter for making so much noise. Yes, when we look to the history of the implementation of Cpted, we see that especially in the earlier days, it was very physical. People thought that when, for example, surveillance, when you come with proper lighting, when you look at the lines of sight, and if there are people, then it is okay. Yes, then the people can see that something happens. But is that enough? No, it is not enough. When the people who see that a crime is taking place, or there is some nuisance, but they are not motivated to interact. And for that, we need that community building. That we need second generation Cpted. So saying that we do not need the new generations, I think that is quite short-sighted, and I certainly do not agree.
Okay, so I think that should be our last question. We'll end with that because we are out of time.
No, sorry, we've got 2 more questions there, Manjari. One is from Matea and one from Karen Feinberg. So,
Yeah, but I thought we had to close on time. So
okay.
that's the reason that we need to stick to the time also. So that's the reason I was calling it a day, and you still have to do the wrap part, Tinus.
Okay.
So that's the reason I was closing it. So I'll thank Manuel on behalf of the International Cpted Association, all the viewers who have joined us today or have registered and will be connecting with the recordings once we have them available. And big thanks to you, Manuel. Continue your good work. Extremely educational session, extremely good viewpoints that you have shared today. Thank you, and I'll give it to Tinus now to do the closing proceedings. Thank you so much, and thanks to all the viewers and attendees from all across the world who have joined us today uh, to attend this last masterclass. And please, we will be having another series very soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Manjari, and thank you to you as well, Manuel. Okay, I hope you can see on your screen, there's just a advert for our Canada and USA chapters conference that will be held in October in Calgary. We really would like you to attend. So if you want more information, you can see that there is a conference website that you can access, and you can send me an email or at anyone at these ICA that you are aware of. You can send them an email and then forward it to us, and we'll forward it to the conference organizers. We really would like you to attend. It's going to be an amazing conference, I'm sure. Okay, I will put this in the chat as well as soon as we're done. We would like you to complete the survey. If you would like to get a certificate of attendance, you need to complete this survey, please, so that we can get your details.